And now we move on to Dead Reckoning. And this is where the franchise begins to have problems. And I mean real problems. Now, hold on. Hold on, okay? Does this movie fit within the franchise? Well, yeah, it's got the same team that we're accustomed to, trying to step up the bad guy bits again. Trying to bring back characters that we'd seen in previous movies, like the White Widow or Wasp. Sorry, I can't remember. That's her right there, Rob. You know, and having not necessarily more elaborate stunts, because they had pretty much done the more elaborate stuff as far as they could go, but having it be different stuff. And showing a few more capabilities of what this Impossible Mission Force is capable of. Yeah, there were a couple of cheesy bits. Oh yeah, they just happened to have a couple of backup cars stationed in convenient locations throughout Europe. Huh. And the base jump scene, that did get a little bit over the top. With all the do we go, do we not to go, that kind of jazz, that was annoying. But at the same time, there is merit to all that stuff at the same time. But the main problem that I have with this movie is not that it's a part one, okay? That's not actually the issue that I've got. I thought that was the issue, but given how, I'm going to be openly honest with you, a lot of the problems that I have with this one, I have with the next one. If they're on basically the same playing field, then I have to ignore the part one. No. Okay? And I mean, like, the part one, on both the spine that up here is so small, you might as well just call it Dead Reckoning like they do on the streaming platforms. So just ignore it, you know? And the killer was, I'm pretty sure that I bought that at a print run where they should have gotten rid of it, but probably it's just licensing issues and all that good jazz, yeah. Okay, yeah. But, yeah, so the problem is not that it isn't, that it's part one of a bigger story, because actually, if you really want to be technical, that would be Ghost Protocol. That is the part one. So, that's not the issue. The real issue is that this movie, it wasn't fun. It was dark. It was bleak. And it wasn't in a good way, because the first and the third ones, okay, they had a dark, suspenseful bit at the beginning of the first one, and then a bleak attitude for Tom Cruise's character, but it never got depressing. It never got, where you felt like there was no hope. Oh, you might think that when you're watching Free for the first time, but on the rewatch, I just had fun with it. It was fun. You know? This, I had moments where I was thinking that it was fun because the car chase, I was enjoying that. The, riddle scene, I enjoyed that. Yeah, there were other bits that I enjoyed, but it wasn't just fun. It just felt, you know? I'm like, where's the thrill? You know, there wasn't a thrill this time. And I really do get how they wanted to make this villain, or the goals for the villain, be just so grand, so grandiose that you realize, oh my god, this is going to be way harder than it was before. And it was. They managed to make that clear 100%, but then it just keeps going where the people are just saying this is the most powerful entity you could ever go up against, and like this person is one step ahead of you. Oh, it is written that someone will die, but then it just keeps going and going and and then you have the bit where it was like, oh yeah, Tom Cruise was trying to push away Rebecca's character for whatever reason, but then he's like, no, I need your help, that kind of a thing. And then you have that hook at the beginning where it's revealed that Ethan is not just a really promising candidate, he actually was recruited by this force because he got in some kind of criminal entanglement, and they're like, you help us, we get rid of this, but then you're a bitch. What? That just totally ruins a lot of the image of the character, and then it makes number 3 make no sense. Lawrence Fishburne knows exactly who Ethan is, what he's been up to, and you would just forgive someone like that? That's, well, they get the attitude that Lawrence Fishburne and Anthony Hopkins knew him for a while, but no, you cannot develop that big of a okayness or a bit of a bond with Ethan like Anthony Hopkins had. It's there, read between the lines, and then know about this. Like, this is not the kind of thing that you can forgive. It's like what Frank William Abagnale, who's now pretty much discredited in a lot of ways, but he said in a couple of video interviews, I'll never be able to figure out which one it is, but he has said that he turned down pardons from sitting presidents. Doesn't take a genius to figure out which free, but because he feels like that what he did is the kind of thing that he's got to spend the rest of his life climbing out of that hole, So that's what is definitely the case with Ethan here. That is not the kind of thing that you can just forgive. The black chick who is now president, she makes that clear in a statement. Like, huh? Just what? And then, bringing in the Grace chick, I'm pretty sure that's her actual name, and having her actually do arguably more things on the team than Rebecca here, that's... But what's the purpose of the character? She's just there. Like, what could she have done that Simon Pegg and Rebecca couldn't have done? Like, what? I don't... It seems like they got her more because the bad guys were kind of after her and just... Ugh. Now, I know that it seems like I'm talking out of my butt here, but here's the thing, okay? After installment after installment of this franchise, getting better and better reviews, both from the critics and the fans, not exactly having the same bit with the box office, but that doesn't matter. They were all comparable, and they were doing what they needed to do. Suddenly, for the first time, you had critics go, yeah, we liked it, but you could tell that they were holding themselves back a little bit. Now, the box office bit, I'm not going to complain about. This was released during the height of the pandemic, alright? It was going to be bad. So that aspect I'll ignore, but you could tell that something had changed with everyone's reception to this. So I was thinking like all this stuff when I was watching it, and then you have the bit where they decide to kill Rebecca. Well, think about this, okay? When was the last time that we had a good guy person, major good guy person die in this franchise? We hadn't had that happen since the first movie. And no, that's not Claire. I'm talking about Emilio Estevez, the Hannah chick, and the Sarah chick. Although I think the Sarah chick is actually a fairly well-known actress. Although, get this, when I was looking at the credits for the first one, Emilio Estevez wasn't even in there. What? Okay, whatever. Whatever. I like Emilio Estevez, okay, but I just thought that was hilarious. But anyways, we hadn't had somebody on this team die since the first movie. Yeah. If you're doing a two-parter that is meant to be a send-off to the franchise, you kind of have to kill somebody. And since they brought in another... hot chick. I can't really think of any other way to describe Grace in here because she wasn't as competent as all the other chicks Maggie Q onward. It makes sense that you would kill Rebecca, especially since Fallout had very subtle things that would suggest that they were trying to set Tom Cruise and Rebecca up. It was subtle, but it was there, because you notice how Rebecca is the one to try and comfort Tom Cruise at the end of the sixth one, even though Julia had just had her moment, and you could tell that Tom Cruise isn't bothered at all by it, and if anything, he actually more expected Rebecca to be there rather than Julia? Right, it was there. It was subtle, but it was there, and having her die, that would have affected him. Sure, they could have done that with Luther, but you would have needed to set it up a little bit more, because Luther, they could have done this angle where Luther starts to feel a little more fatherly towards Ethan. They ultimately decided to not go down that route. Who knows why? Doesn't matter. But, yeah, out of all the people on the team that could have gotten the cut, it makes sense that it was Rebecca. So, even though I was bummed to see her die, I think that worked, honestly, yeah. I think it worked. Yeah, so I know that I've spent a lot of time talking about this movie. And then there was also the bit that I'm like, you keep mentioning that submarine you showed at the beginning and then nothing's happening, but then I realized, okay, wait. Again, because this is what I was thinking when I was watching the movie. This isn't what I think now. But I'm like, well then let's just watch Part 2, even though I knew it wasn't called Part 2 anymore. It was called Final Reckoning, which still makes sense. And then hopefully we can get a lot of these issues resolved and go out with a bang. Yeah. What did I give this? Okay, I'm just gonna say free and have done with it so I don't have to think about it anymore. Even though I'm sure a part of me is gonna look at that down the line and go, you're gonna want to either bump it up or bump it down. Nah. So, Final Reckoning, which isn't out on home video as of when I'm recording this, it didn't fix the issues that Dead Reckoning had. It kept them, and it added to a couple, just a couple of them. Because they just continued with this hyping up of, oh, it's the entity, and it's gonna be awful, and they continue on with the bit about how apparently Tom Cruise and this guy had met each other before, and then there was nothing there at the end, really. Ethan's criminal past, we don't figure out what he did, it was just there. And then they replaced Cary Elwes' character with the son of Jim Phelps, and yet neither of these characters matters. Now, okay. Cary Elwes, his character was just there to add one more layer to the movie, then they off him. That's fine. I don't even think they mentioned this guy's name more than once or twice. He was just there. Okay? That was stupid. And normally I do a decent job of recognizing Cary Elwes. I didn't this time. Yeah, that says something. And then Jim Phelps' son, he was there just for the sake of being there and having these two movies try and have everything tied together, bringing back Kettridge and then having Jim Phelps have a son. Probably couldn't have been from Claire. He probably had had her with another woman, and yet if you look at this guy's attitude, you can tell that it probably was Claire. Like, that was dumb. The third one, the Rabbit's Foot Matters in the big scheme of things. How the bad guys here they either were working with the syndicate or had been manipulating the syndicate to do their bit. And then the fourth one, there isn't a true connection. It's very subtle, but it's there. Okay, it just, all of that was a very weak web that ultimately didn't really matter to that much. Kettridge, he's just doing exactly what he's doing in the first one, with a couple of new twists that are not as bad as what they're doing with the other bad guys, even though he's not a true bad guy in this movie, because you could tell that they're setting him up to be an obstacle rather than a bad guy. In the first one, he is a bad guy, but it's a bad guy by default situation, kind of like how Colonel Von Luger in The Great Escape, he's the bad guy by default, but when you really pry into him, you realize actually this guy has principles. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so Kettridge, he's not too bad, but the rest of it just continued to be trying to show other things there. And then, like, the climax of it, it's like, okay, it's like these characters now, they're way too isolated. Then the whole bit about, okay, I'll set the bomb, and then you guys have got to run a couple 100 feet to the nearest exit. What? Now, the black guy, that was not a bad character, but it didn't offer the hugest amount, because between Kettridge and Grace, he didn't have that much left to do. If anything, he was like the intermediary between them, the best of both quality characters, and yeah. It is not the actor, it's the writing, okay? That guy did the best with what he could. He did great, but it just, man. Having that William character from the first one, not bad. You decided to make a throwaway character more sympathetic. That's fine. But because of the other stuff, it lacks the weight that they were trying to get to. I'm afraid. And even when they find the sub, and while it's like, whoa, exactly on the other end of the planet, so if we just reverse those coordinates, suddenly it's only 20 miles from here? Clever. That was a nice scene, but then when you find the sub, you just get like a little bit of computer code or whatnot, and then it just peters out, and it's like, yes, the world is saved, so there was a bit of relief, but it wasn't right. Like this, when they did it, I was like, oh, because I actually got a little nervous. There, right here, not nearly as much. And then I'm like, where's the fun in this? It isn't, huh? And the whole time that Tom Cruise and the last bad guy are fighting on that plane, I should have been nervous. And I kind of was, but the main thing I was thinking about was, when is this movie going to be over? What? I should not be thinking this with a Mission Impossible movie. Yeah, this franchise was just stepping it up. It was doing so well, outdoing itself time and time again, and then at the finish line, it just sinks. Right. So, rating this movie, and now I'm going to incorporate the seventh movie into it. So this is, I think, the real rating that these two films, which form one story, deserve. Too personal, and I'm being generous here, free critique. Now, again, I'm really hoping that this is just a me issue, but I don't know.